The shield that Homer depicts in the poem The Iliad is a literary piece that has many interpretations. The shield which is forged for Achilles in the Trojan War has 9 layers that depict the world, some very contrasting to the others. The shield is a physical encapsulation of the world. The layers are a series of contrasts: war and peace, work and festival. The second layer from the inside shows 2 cities. One is full of people enjoying a wedding, and at the same time a trial for murder is going on at a courtroom. The other city is being besieged by a feuding army, showing a battle and ambush, but also the golden beauty of the warriors. Homer is trying to show how whether you're at war or at peace, conflict, beauty, wealth, and death are all still prevalent. Not only is there temporal succession in these scenes on the shield, but they develop into stories with a plot. The audience asks itself not merely what will be mentioned next, as it does with descriptive scenes, but what will happen next. Will the besieged or the besiegers win? While they have a beginning and a middle, they have no end.
While the shield's depictions are cause for many interpretations of a deeper meaning, some Homerists who devote their life to the study of Homeric poetry cannot help but view the shield as an irritating anomaly. According to Hubbard, the shield tends to offend analytically minded critics who have bracketed the passage on the grounds of narrative, irrelevance, and linguistic distinctiveness. More than anything, the shield described in Homer's writings serves as a form of poetic entertainment. Stephen Scully states that the detailed description of the scenes on the shield, like an extended smile, invites the audience to consider the creation of the shield against the larger story. This passage serves as a form of ekphrasis, or detailed description, which is meant to entertain the audience and keep them interested in Homer's writings. Literal interpretations should not be drawn from this passage. Instead, it could be taken as one of the oldest forms of poetic entertainment.
The Shield of Achilles contains depictions that represent aspects of life that are still relevant today. For instance, the shield depicts a trial for murder within a peaceful city. This tells us that the Greeks valued a judicial system in order to solve their problems. Being able to use a judicial system to regulate society makes for a peaceful society as depicted on the shield. We too share these same ancient views to run our society. The shield also depicts a city at war that shows that in order to gain peace for your polis, you must fight for it, something that we still hold to be true today. We look at these depictions on the shield as a basis for Greek life in the time of Homer.
The Shield of Achilles emphasizes some of the competitive elements of human existence and omits others. While the shield depicts scenes of marriage, war, and law, it omits such aspects as poverty and misery, trade and seafaring, and it also doesn't include famous heroes or places. Some believe that through the joint depiction of joy and sorrow, the shield can be seen as depicting the everyday life of humanity. Parts of the shield depict agricultural practices like grape harvesting and stock breeding. I believe that this is because these practices were crucial for making sure that there was enough food to go around in ancient times, and thus this was an important aspect to ancient society.
Even though the shield can be seen as an artistic piece of history, it can be viewed as something much more within the Iliad. Thomas Hubbard goes on to say, the shield is a complex, monumental artifact composed out of diverse elements and endowed with multiple registers of figural meaning. Its status as an artifact is significant, revealing Homer's view of the artistic work as a concrete product of manual activity, a permanent sequence of signs inscribed, as it were, into immortality. It could be argued that the signs he speaks of are this battle between force and intelligence as seen in other Greek works. There is a motif that intelligence battles force. Hubbard says this polarity expresses itself in the Homeric poems through the competing claims of force and intelligence. When looked at technically, it can be seen as a mediating term between this force and intelligence. Thomas continues to say how we see Iliad structured by the opposition between Achilles, a hero of force and violence, and Hephaestus, the divine craftsman of cunning inventions, with the shield itself as a mediation term, both a tool of force and a product of elaborated cunning. The shield and Iliad as a whole thus revolve around an axis of progression, from the elemental to the artistic. Even though Achilles and Hephaestus aren't enemies, what they are standing for are an opposition in action. Where one would kill somebody, the other builds works of greatness. Because of this interpretation, it could be argued that the shield is something divine as well as practical.
The ekphrasis of Achilles can be seen as an extended simile to the life of ancient Greeks. The images of peace depicted contrast the onslaught that is the Iliad. These peaceful images remind the audience why war is necessary. In opposition, the shield also depicts two lions ripping apart a bull's neck while men and dogs attempt to save it. This imagery reasserts the view that war and destruction is inevitable and a part of nature. The images of peace also have a dual purpose inside the story of the Iliad. They bring upon a will to fight in Achilles, while at the same time instill a sense of fear in his enemies. They come to see the enemy of Troy's greatest warrior, and instead of the usual Aegeus adornments, see a man in a magnificent, gleaming shield portraying peace. His power is so great that he doesn't need to rely on fearful images to frighten his foes.
Based on our research, our group determined there were multiple ways to interpret the shield. These various interpretations range from viewing the shield as a necessity of war to maintain peace, to viewing it as human culture from Homer's point of view depicted through the harmony on the rings with contrasting ideas. The vagueness of the interpretation provides an opportunity for readers to generate their own views and stances on what they think the shield represents. Parts of our research led us to the conclusion that the main reason Homer developed the shield was to highlight his artistry, and the shield has no other meaning besides to give the opportunity to showcase his narrating and entertainment skills. Other aspects of our research led us to believe the shield represents Achilles' choices on life, more specifically, his choice for war that results in his mortality being relinquished. Thus, we have concluded that the shield of Homer can be up to anyone's interpretation, and it is up to the reader to determine what stance they would like to take.